Hello, everyone, and welcome to Soul Show, and welcome back to another Spider-Man review. Today, we're talking about Spider-Man 3. Back in 2007, I remember seeing this movie in the theaters, and there was a lot of triple movies coming out, the third installment of films coming out within that year, and all of them kind of were letdowns. You had Shrek 3, Pirates of the Caribbean 3, and Spider-Man 3, and I think Spider-Man 3 might be the worst out of that group for a variety of different reasons, because Spider-Man 3 was supposed to be a good movie. You're bringing Venom in. You have this whole arc with Sandman, the resolution with Harry. They're doing more stuff with Mary Jane and Toby, and it seems like they're really going to get to the heart of the issues, and this is going to be the ultimate climax, the finish to the trilogy, and God, it is a circus, and it is a dumpster fire at the same time. And over the years, there's been a lot of opinions about this film. I don't think I'm in that camp that thinks it's like gutter trash, this is the worst film ever, because there's actually a lot of things about this film I really like. I like the origin of Sandman. I like him literally having to put himself together. The arc with him, and this is going to be spoilers, by the way, the arc that we realize out of nowhere that Sandman actually killed Uncle Ben, and then at the end of the film, after a multitude of fights where he could have just yelled, "It was an accident, bro," he just reveals, "Oh yeah, my bad." And then Spider-Man's like, "I forgive you." And that's it. That's like the resolution of the whole franchise. And it just feels so cheaply earned. And there's no payoff to him and his daughter. It's a weird plot thread to have on top of all these other plot threads. I know Sandman is the original story of this film, but he really took a backseat. And like I said, over the years, the opinions for this film really kept going downhill. But as a new generation of people are watching this film in preparation of No Way Home, I thought, the tide might change. And I watched it again myself. I was like, hey, it's been a long time since I've seen Spider-Man 3 again. Let's see if it stacks up. And it is about as bad as I remember. I don't think it's a terrible film. I don't even think it's a bad film. But considering the last Spider-Man movie was like my favorite, and this sank all the way to the bottom, yeah, it's quite a comparison. It's quite a contrast. I was talking about things I liked. I will continue to do that. I like Aunt May because she's always just been Aunt May, and she's really here, and you could really tell she knows Peter Spider-Man by now, and she's really just kind of like, if Spider-Man were here, I think he should do this, and she's very cute as always. There are a lot of things I hate about the Mary Jane plot thread. There's a lot of things I hate about the Norman plot thread. But there are small moments I really like. Like at the end of the film when Spider-Man and Harry are teaming up. And it actually feels like a cool superhero duo. That was something I'd never seen in films before at the time. And for me, that was really hype. I really liked that scene. And there are parts of the Mary Jane story that I like. But it's all over the place, man. I like how in the beginning of the film they really have to balance out the relationship, and whereas in the last film Peter was the one just constantly getting shit on and he has to evolve from that, now we have Mary Jane constantly being shit on. She loses her job. Peter's always off being Spider-Man, and then Peter does the most dumb thing ever. This is one of my main complaints for the film. Gwen Stacy is shoehorned into this film, and during this random celebration of Spider-Man, he decides to do a whole Spider-Man kiss for Gwen Stacy. He just makes out with her on a stage that he knows Mary Jane is watching in the exact form of kissing that he kissed her. And this is shortly after he was talking about in trying to propose to Mary Jane. What kind of fucking brain is in this monkey suit of a man right here? And Peter Parker really just feels like he was character assassinated in this film, on top of just being a dope, on top of before, he's very cheesy, he's charming, he's got a boyish naivety to him. I can accept all those things. He's a fucking dork, he's a pussy sometimes, he's crying all the time. I will accept those things for my cheesy, campy Spider-Man film. What I will not accept is him dancing around the fucking city like a fucking goof, putting the emo hair in his eyes, black eyeliner and all. And this is supposed to be our version of Venom. Venom Spider-Man is, I can't talk because I got a fucking girly ass swoop in my hair, but Spider-Man is just like, good riddance. He's like, oh, poor little Goblin Jr.'s gonna cry. I can't do it, man. And yeah, it's been memed to death. Everyone shits on it. There's a dance number. I don't know what they were thinking for this film. There's some choices in here that really felt like the film was already like on suicide watch. So they were just, pulling out random shit at this point. Why not have a dance number? And then like he hits Mary Jane after that. Whoa. Why? Who decided all this? That's what I'm saying. They really assassinated Peter's character in this film. And sure, the film ends with forgiveness and kind of concluding the story with Harry. But it does not make up for this. You walk away from this film really unsatisfied because Mary Jane and Toby, or Peter, I should say, are really just kind of pushed together as if to be like, hey, we might get back on track. They don't have like their final I love you or anything like that. It kind of makes you feel like there's going to be one more, which, as we know, there is not. Whether they conclude this in the Marvel multiverse is a story for another day. But as of 2007, when it ended in 2007, we never thought we'd see Peter and all these people again. It is very unsatisfactory. It feels like, if anything, it went backwards from the last movie. The last movie ended on a shot that made you feel like there was more, but actually seeing more makes you be like, oh God, we should have just ended things right there. And I haven't even talked about Venom yet. It really feels like they're speed running the arcs in this film because it's just, oh, Venom comes down from a meteorite. Oh, Black Spider-Man suit. Oh, Eddie Brock. Venom as Eddie Brock teaming up with Sandman. Big showdown at the finale. He has one weakness. They immediately find that weakness. Venom is defeated. Yeah, I don't think as a kid going into this film, I knew how bad it would be because playing Spider-Man games and what little I knew about Spider-Man as a kid, all I knew is Venom is the most badass thing out there, and I wanted to see Venom on the television and in the movie theater. And I got that, and even as a child who loved the shit out of Pirates of the Caribbean 3, watching Spider-Man 3, there's just something about it where I was like, this is something went wrong. There's a line of code in here that just fucked up everything. And I think it's when they started doing the emo Peter montage, and after that, like the finale, it really feels jumbled up. And what's the backbone after that? After all that bullshit, like the good stuff in this film still aren't as good as the other Spider-Man films. And again, it's like if I want to watch that kind of stuff, I have two other films I can pull from. I can watch Mary Jane be dangled from another city skyscraper for the umpteenth time. I have other films that do that cheesy shit better. Again, the arc with Norman is good and bad at the same time because in this film, on top of everything else, I haven't even talked about Venom yet, the actual Eddie Brock Venom. On top of everything else, James Franco as Norman Osborn decides he's going to kill Spider-Man, loses his memory, goes into this like childlike innocence where he's just this dopey, high as fuck James Franco eyes. And then he makes out with Mary Jane, even though that was unjustified. Mary Jane, like, I don't understand you, girl. That at that point it was just, attention. I don't get attention, so I'm gonna make out with your best friend. That's fucked up. I know that the relationships in this movie feel like a bad TV drama that is made for 15-year-olds. It's bad. But anyway, Harry gets back his memory, decides he's going to fight Spider-Man again, and then his butler, who it's some bad acting, man. I'm sorry. This is a really sweet old-ass man, but it is bad. He's just kind of like, I cleaned your father's wound. It looked like a glider wound. I don't understand exactly how that happens, but it was his own hand. Even though Peter could have explained this multiple times by now, he did yell it out during a fight, which is, a consolation prize. But it felt like we really should have just had Peter have this conversation with him. Instead, he gets it from his butler, and it's just so weird. And then they had the big team up, and then he dies. And that's probably the best part of the whole film because it actually felt like something. It felt like a plot thread that had concluded, and it earned what little emotion it got out of me during that. Now, Eddie Brock as Venom. Miscast from all hell, dude. And, Tom Hardy Venom still, just doesn't, maybe I need to read more Venom comics and shit like that, but I just really don't feel like the Venom I knew as a kid has ever actually been adapted well. And this is a far stretch from it, man. He's just smarmy. And there's a whole plot thread with Eddie Brock being the competitive photographer. And I will say these plot threads are weaving together in a way that they make sense. He juggled them well enough, but by the end of the film, it all comes crashing down. Venom is so unnecessary to this film in the long run. And the fact that we have evil Peter being a fucking douche for half this film. But even some of the stuff he did, like make out with Gwen Stacy, he didn't even have the symbiote yet. I don't understand the choices made in this film. I will come back to the things I do like about this film. Again, it's a lot of I like Jonah Jameson. I like Spider-Man swinging through the city, even though some of the fights have, your bad CGI. There's some obvious green screen in there, but again, it's the stuff that were in the past two movies. It's not going to be perfect for at least, it's not going to live up to the quality of the future decades or anything like that. But choreography for these fights are pretty cool, and that good riddance line, as much as I dunk on it, that was pretty cool too. Just by being a competent Spider-Man movies, it is something I am biased towards. I already like that shit so much. And the fact that it has all these characters that I already really enjoy and they're fully established, those are things I can praise about this film. But on the other hand, it seems to be trying to assassinate these characters. And it's one of those films where it's a mixed bag for me, where I'm like, Spider-Man, Sam Raimi, the classic shit. And then the other hand is like, oh, it's written terribly. The characters are at their lowest. And I don't mean emotionally. I mean how the quality of them are just downhill. There's way too many plot threads bouncing around, and half of them you don't care about. It's still boring at the end of the day. The payoff is bad. The cheese is still up there. There are some terrible extras in this film. And on top of that, you have Spider-Man posing in front of the American flag. It's a lot of stuff that really, it just feels like a hodgepodge with way too many ingredients, and half of them I hate. It feels like I made a meal. It feels like someone made a meal for me with way too many ingredients, and I don't know what's going on anymore. And there's just a bunch of sour taste in there that I don't like. And sure, there's some good stuff in there, but it's I don't even know what I'm eating at this point. Had this film not had Venom, or they tweaked a couple things, or worked on the script a little more, it took out some obvious bad things about it, reworked a couple things, yeah, there was a good Spider-Man film in there, and they really could have done some justice to it, and it would have been the perfect end of the trilogy. But as it stands, Spider-Man 3 is not good, but I don't think it's bad either. I'm going to give Spider-Man 3 a 5 out of 10. A light 5, if anything. It took my wife and I 3 tries to get through Spider-Man 3 because we kept falling asleep. And so now I don't even know if I'm going to be able to watch the Amazing Spider-Man films before the new one comes out, but I will do my best. And if not, I'll get around to them sometime. I'm going to review everything at one point or another. And if you want to join me on that crazy journey, you know what button to hit. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let me know in the thoughts down below. What are your thoughts on the Spider-Man trilogy? Thank you for watching as always. And until next time, with that, I'll see you later, webheads.